I was right there beside you, silently hoping that you'd notice my presence, feel the weight of my heart, and understand the words. I never spoke, but sometimes, even when we're physically close, our souls seem to be miles apart. Did you ever stop and wonder if I was right there, standing in the shadows, just waiting for a glimpse of your acknowledgement? It's strange how you can be so close to someone and yet feel like you're worlds away. I was there all along, quietly observing, my thoughts echoing in the silence between us. Sometimes we search for the answers in places far away when they were right in front of us, waiting to be noticed. It's funny how you can give someone everything you have, stand right next to them, and still feel invisible. The world doesn't always stop to see what's right in front of them. I was right there, hoping you'd turn around, but perhaps the noise in your world drowned out the quiet whisper of my presence. Sometimes it feels like we're unseen even when we're standing in plain sight. Did you ever realize how close I was, waiting in the background, never asking for anything but your attention? Sometimes being close is the hardest place to be because no one notices the silent sacrifices. I was there, right there with you, but somehow the distance between us grew longer with each passing moment. Sometimes it's not about how far apart you are physically, but how far apart you feel emotionally. I stood by, right there, watching you chase dreams, and while I couldn't follow you, I hoped you'd look back and see that I was always a part of your story. Sometimes it takes being overlooked to realize how much you meant. Sometimes the quietest voices are the ones standing closest to us, but we often overlook them. I was there. Didn't you feel my presence, or was I too subtle for you to notice? I was right there with you, yet somehow it felt like you were searching for something that was always within reach. It's strange how we can miss the things that are closest to our hearts. Right there in your world, waiting for a moment of recognition, I couldn't help but wonder if you ever knew the depth of my silence. It's as though, in the hustle of life, we forget to see what's closest to us. I was there in the stillness, in the pauses of our conversations, in the space between every glance. I wonder if you ever realized how deeply I was invested in every second of our shared time. There's a feeling of being right there with someone, yet somehow never truly seen. It's not a matter of distance, but of connection that goes unnoticed, no matter how close we are. I stood beside you, but it felt like I was invisible. The closest people are often the easiest to overlook, and yet their presence is the one that can change everything. Sometimes all we want is to be seen, to be recognized for simply being there. I was right there, but it seemed like you never knew the power of my quiet presence. I was there when the world seemed to fade away, when you needed someone to understand the unspoken. I wish you had seen me, not just with your eyes, but with your heart. You didn't see me, did you? Even when I was standing right there, it felt like I was lost in the crowd of your thoughts, waiting to be found, but never quite reaching your sight. I wonder how many times I was right there and you didn't see me. Perhaps it's because sometimes the ones who are truly meant for us are the ones we take for granted. Right beside you, but the connection felt like a distant dream. I stood there, feeling the distance between us, not in space, but in the way we failed to truly see each other. You were so busy looking for what was missing that you didn't see what was standing right in front of you. Sometimes we're so focused on the future that we miss the beauty of what's right now. I was always right there, patiently waiting for a moment when you'd finally notice. Yet, in all the moments we shared, I remained unseen, like a story written in invisible ink. I was there when you needed someone to lean on, but it wasn't always easy to see. Sometimes the ones who are closest to us go unnoticed because we don't look hard enough. You were caught up in the whirlwind of life, and I was right there, quietly waiting, hoping you'd turn around. Sometimes we get lost in the noise and forget to see what's standing still beside us. Did you ever feel me there, or was I so close that you didn't even realize I was waiting for the chance to be seen, to be noticed for all the moments I stood beside you? I stood there, right next to you, and yet it felt like I was miles away. It's odd how the closest moments can feel the most distant when we fail to truly acknowledge them. I was right there, quietly watching, hoping you'd realize that sometimes the most important people are the ones who don't shout for attention, but simply stay by your side. In the silence of the moments we shared, I was there, wishing you'd feel my presence, my thoughts, my heart, yet I remained hidden in plain sight, hoping for the recognition that never came. I was right there beside you, not asking for anything but the simplest acknowledgement. Yet, in the chaos of life, sometimes it's the quiet ones who go unnoticed. There's a strange beauty in standing close to someone, yet feeling invisible. I was right there, but somehow the space between us seemed greater than it truly was. I stood beside you, waiting for the moment when you'd see me, not just as someone in the background, but as a part of the story you were writing. Even when I was right there, it felt like I was searching for something more than just attention, I wanted to be seen for who I am, not just for my proximity to you. I was right there when you needed someone, quietly standing in the wings, hoping you'd see me for the person I was. But sometimes we miss the ones closest to us because we're too focused on what's far away. In the crowded moments of life, I was there, silent and still. Yet, it seemed like my presence was lost in the shuffle, unnoticed by the very person I longed to be seen by. Sometimes you don't realize that the person you're searching for was right beside you all along. I was there, waiting for you to turn around, to see me as I truly am, right beside you, but it felt like I was lost in the background, like a piece of the puzzle that didn't quite fit. I wonder if you ever truly saw the full picture. You didn't see me, even though I was right there. It's strange how we can miss the things that are closest to us, the ones who have been by our side the whole time. I stood there, waiting for you to realize that I was the one who had been there all along. Sometimes we get so caught up in what we don't have that we overlook what's right in front of us. I was right there, wishing for the smallest spark of recognition, but it seemed like I was invisible to your eyes. Sometimes the quiet ones are the ones who feel the most lost. I was right there, watching as you moved through your world, and in the stillness, I hoped you'd catch a glimpse of me. Sometimes, the closest people are the ones we forget to notice. I was there, but it felt like I was standing in another dimension. Even though I was close, I felt so far away, lost in the space between us that neither of us ever filled. How strange it is to be right there, yet still so distant. I stood by, waiting for you to notice, but somehow the distance only grew with each passing second. I was there when you needed someone to stand by you, but it seemed like my presence was invisible to you. Sometimes the ones who stay the longest are the easiest to overlook. Right beside you, but it felt like I was standing in another world. I wonder if you ever realized that my silence wasn't absence, but a quiet hope for your recognition. I was right there, standing in the shadows of your life, waiting for a moment when you'd see me for who I truly was. But sometimes it's easier to overlook what's closest to us. I was right there beside you, not asking for much, just hoping you'd see me. Yet, in the rush of your world, my presence went unnoticed, like a forgotten dream. I was there, in the quiet spaces between our words, but it felt like I was invisible to your eyes. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own thoughts that we miss the presence of those closest to us. I was right there, standing silently, hoping you'd see me, but I wonder if you ever truly noticed. Sometimes the ones we're closest to are the ones we fail to recognize. I was there in the background of your life, silently hoping for a chance to be seen. Yet it felt like no matter how close I got, I remained hidden from your gaze. You didn't see me, did you? Even though I was standing right there, my presence was lost in the noise of your world. Sometimes we overlook what's right in front of us. I was right there, hoping for a glance, a moment when you'd realize I was there. But it felt like I was just a shadow, unnoticed in the bright light of everything else around us. I was there, standing beside you, but sometimes being close is the hardest thing. You think you're seen, but you're lost in the chaos of everything else. You didn't see me, even though I was right there, quietly waiting for the chance to be recognized. Sometimes the ones who are always there go unnoticed. I stood beside you, right there, but it felt like I was invisible. It's strange how the closest people are often the hardest to truly see. I was right there, not asking for much, but simply hoping to be noticed. But somehow, even though I was so close, I remained out of your sight.